Resolved that for a period of 30 months, the City of Malden dedicate $5 million of its financial reserve for the acquisition of the former Malden Hospital site and other costs associated with the site following acquisition, provided that other adequate funds, public or private, have been identified to complete the demolition and waste removal of structures, improvements, and conditions on the land as deemed necessary by the city for the creation of park space and low-impact improvements as needed.
Sponsors Kinnon, D'Angelo, Matheson, and Spatafora. Councilor Kinnon, the chair will recognize you for this paper.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. President. I brought this paper forward to a number of you last week. And really the reason behind this, when I heard the people talking to yourself, Councilor Matheson, Maplewood Highlands and High Rock continues to come up in my mind. That was 8 acres of land. We purchased it for $1.85 million in 2010. I think it's one of the best things that we, 2011, that's one of the best things that we ever did, set aside this land. Just last week we finally made it conservation land. And I look at the neighborhood on the hospital site. I'm very familiar with it. Evaluated it at one time 15 years ago. And the whole Fellsmere area there is attached. This paper is nothing but a resolve, but I think much like the battle that went on for 30 years up in Maplewood Highlands, and was truly, against a development at that time. This is the same type of thing, much more land, and I think it gives people time to perhaps put a plan together. That may not happen, but at least it would set it aside, and some people have said, oh, that's a lot of money, $5 million. I look at it this way. If somehow the group is fortunate enough to raise the $10 million or the $15 million that it would cost to do the rest of the work up there, to perhaps knock down buildings, clean up the property, that type of thing, this would be a great investment for the city at that type of rate. So I think it doesn't stop us from doing anything. It says, look, we'll set aside this for 30 months, get your ducks in a row, try to get the financing you need, whatever way, whatever type of plan you come up with. We didn't sign on to any specific plan, but it perhaps will give time to them. So that's why I put it forward, because time is what we needed in Maplewood, time is what we got, and ultimately a plan that resolved the whole issue came forward. With city money, with taxpayer money through the meals tax, that included both our money and a significant amount of money from people from outside of these communities. So that's why I put it forward. I hope everyone can get behind the resolve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kinnon. Well said. Turn it over to Councilor D'Angelo. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I won't repeat what was said, but although I agree with much of it, and to add something is, I think we need to start thinking outside the box. And with a unique piece of property up there, with all of its qualifications, we should be trying to do whatever we can as a community to try to solve that situation. That hasn't changed up there in years. So to me, this is that effort. We're trying to think outside the box. We're trying to get some new ideas up there. To me, I've said it to my colleagues and to many of the community members, I'd like to get the current owner back to the table to see what can we work on together. How can we have a vision that is going to meet the city's needs, the neighborhood's needs, the landowners' needs, and really get everybody trying to solve it. Because if it was easy, it would have been done by now. It's not easy. It's challenging. We're trying our best here. I think this is an outside-the-box thought to be able to say this is a valuable piece of land. Let's show that we believe it's valuable by putting this substantial amount up there. So I think it's a good thing. I hope everybody could support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor D'Angelo. And I'll just add, As the Ward 3 counselor, I've said before that this is not just a Ward 3 issue, it's a city issue. This is something that has stymied mayors and councilors before us. It's one of the more important things we can do, protecting our land, the land we have left. One of the most important things we can do in service of our city and our residents. What I do like about this wording, and I worked with Councilor Kinnon on this, and I applaud him for taking some initiative on this. He's had success in the past protecting land, and I applaud him for that. It doesn't say this is what we think the site is worth. We don't know that yet. We're conducting an appraisal with the help of the MRA. It doesn't say this is a purchase offer. In fact, we don't have the authority to even appropriate the money. What it does is it sends a signal. And of course, the mayor can see it our way and work with us on this, and I'm sure he's working with people just as we are. But it does call for a collaboration. We know that private market forces aren't able to resolve the situation up there. It's been a dead end for 15 years. The cost of the site work and the demolition and the waste removal up there is very, very expensive. And for a private developer and a private landowner to come to terms in a way where they both profit and all the land gets taken care of and the structures get taken down is very, very difficult, if not impossible. And then to see a park come out at the end of it, that's unlikely as well. And we know that the impact that some of these dense developments have had. So I applaud the group that came before us the last couple weeks, and hopefully there is some collaboration in the future where we can see some movement that would help the city. With that, as Councilor Kinnon said, this would be a resolve to say, yeah, we believe that some money should be set aside for this important piece of the City of Malden. Any other councilors wishing to speak on this? Any questions or comments? I believe there was some discussion about referral, but I think you're looking for a vote here, Councilor Kinnon. Councilor Spatafora, I know you've been involved with this issue for many, many years. You have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted, there's a couple clarifications. I think Councilor Kinnon, said it best where this would be time, and I feel that there's always been discussion. Right now, there's one proposal for there, which would take an ordinance change, and there is a group that's trying to have, has another proposal, which I think everybody in the room would love to see that as an alternate. Unfortunately, the missing piece of that pie is money. And I think what this paper does say to some degree is it might be a way to jumpstart that. But also, Councilor D'Angelo mentioned sitting down and speaking to Hallmark, whether it be a private development up there or some type of quasi-development. And there is new leadership up there, and Councilor Matheson and I believe the mayor's office and the MRA are working to secure a date in the next couple of weeks to actually have a conversation to do so. One of my concerns, which I shared with Councilor Kinnon, was I just didn't want to show the number out there thinking we would buy it for a certain price, but after hearing the deliberation, I can understand where this could go, because this would not, and I've told this to several groups, this is probably a third of the cost to get there, maybe a fourth, depending what you want to do. But I just want to point out those two things. We are going down the path with the help of Council Matheson and the mayor's office and the MRA of sitting at the table and having a discussion. Again, we've done it in the past, but hopefully this continues progress in some direction. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just have about 4 questions. So the 30-month span, and maybe I will ask the sponsor, the 30-month span would be 2 million, 2 million, or just within the 30-month span? Can we have dialogue?
Councilor Kinnon, you have the floor.
Yes, the 30-month span, which is 2.5 years, would lock up the $5 million that's in reserve. It's no different than just putting it away. Again, the resolve doesn't really do this. It just says, this is what we think. So it's not an order or anything like that. It says, look, we got 13 million in reserve. We believe that 5 million ought to be set aside for 30 months. We believe, not we can. 30 months. And in that time frame, if they can come up with a way, to Councilor Spatafora's, the federal government or whatever groups can come up with 10 million more, maybe 15 million more, then we would commit at that point, hopefully, to do something. It doesn't guarantee anything. It says, look, here's the hope, and it's real, because it's not like we're saying, well, we might, we don't have any money to do this. If we had zero reserve, we couldn't even do this. We have a very healthy reserve. Again, a decision would have to be made if that was ever to take place, but it gives them, it would give a group, it's kind of like the bike path. The bonding initially for the bike path through the meals tax was 500,000. But 700,000. But the idea was that it would give them the seed to go out to other people and say, look, can you give us this because we have X that will get us part way there. It didn't only cost 700,000 to do the bike path, but it eventually got us to having a bike path. So, all right.
Yep. Thank you very much. And if I actually knew that there was an opportunity to co-sponsor this, I would have signed on to this. I think this is a great, is it too late to do that now? Can we?
No,
Okay.
we'll make a note for the record.
Thank you. And I think with the money in reserve, it is a wonderful investment. But most importantly, we need to get back to the table with Hallmark. Most importantly, so I don't know who would actually, set that up, or if you are doing that, but that's so important to me to get back and communicate. If we're not communicating, we're never going to get anywhere. So I am ready to support this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other requests to speak? No? Okay, move the question. We'll take a roll call on this.
Okay, Anderson.
Yes.
Crow. D'Angelo. DeMaria. Kinnon. Murphy. Nestor. Sika. Spatafora. Altrino. And Matheson.
Yes. Great. We'll move on.